Yesterday I was asked why I mentioned beauty at the same time as a need for the world for peace, reconciliation, healing. And I thought that perhaps we should underline the importance of beauty, because I think it is a human aspiration for beauty, for balance, for harmony, and that creativity is the absolute opposite of destruction. That is perhaps why we also have so many artists that are in the forefront of the peace movement. We could mention how Platon is using beauty, saying that truth, beauty, and the good are part of the same approach to life. We could also mention Malcolm Gladwell, who wrote The Turning Point, when they managed to stop violence in the subway in New York through making sure that all the trains that were running were cleaned and painted and with nice surroundings, and that these nice surroundings influenced the violence. It actually took away the violence that they had experienced for a long time, particularly in Upper New York. But it would be no astonishment to you that I will be speaking of the cultural peace, the UNESCO initiative on cultural peace, as a blueprint for moving from war and violence towards a cultural peace and non-violence. And it is very understandable that this initiative came from UNESCO, because the mandate of UNESCO to create peace through international cooperation within the fields of education, culture, science, and communication is a fantastic mandate. And with the cancel culture that we have today, I have to admit that I'm not sure at all that we would have managed to create an organization like UNESCO today. And the preamble to the Constitution of UNESCO says that since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that defenses for peace must be constructed. That is quite an opposite definition of defense than the military defense. And we could actually also, in this context, use a quote from Ahtisaari, because he said that we have to choose. Either we want to be right or we want peace. Insisting on being right might lead to humiliation and no possibility for the opposite party to get out of the corner where they have painted themselves into. The cultural peace became a possibility because of the period just after the Cold War. And people were so enthusiastic, and this period of top interest in the world for a cultural peace came after 1889 with the fall of the war, and it ended 11th September 2001 when the world's attention went to Bush and the war on terror. Either you are with us or you are against us, and there were no more discussion possible. UNESCO made actually a manifesto 2000 for a cultural peace. It was signed by 75 million people who committed themselves to respect all life, to take care of the planet, to listen, to understand, and so forth. It was a marvel. We thought we would change the world at the time. I actually have spent quite some years on writing a book, and many have asked me about the book, and I've been allowed to wave it around. And this book is called A Cultural Peace, Utopia or Alternative Political Security Policy. And I think that the opposition between peace and security is very clear, and Johan Galton has also spoken about that and underlined that peace provides security, but security does not provide peace. Sometimes absolutely the opposite, because we use all the resources available for security, and we can build our walls to heaven without being safe. So this old slogan on building bridges instead of walls might be very much important still. The book, I have tried to have a holistic approach to the peace issue. The first part describes what UNESCO and after some time also the rest of the UN meant by the vision of a cultural peace. What was the program? What did we manage? What did we not manage? The second part is a quite heavy part, which is the hindrances for a cultural peace. It's quite pessimistic, and it underlines, of course, the enormous militarization that is ongoing, and it compares these 2.2 billion US dollars being used for the military every year, whilst that, if you compare it to the regular budget of the UN, it will be 1/600 and something parts of the budget. So the disproportion between what the world puts into military so-called safety, which I would call unsafety, compared to what we put into the world's organization that is made for keeping international law proper, for making a place where we can meet, where the world leaders meet to discuss issues, hopefully trying to solve them, or at least calm them. And also all the work that is being done in the different specialized agencies of the UN on food, on education, on culture, on humanitarian affairs, and so forth. It is a total mismatch here. The last and third part is perhaps the most important in the pedagogical point of view, because it takes all the 8 pillars that UNESCO is describing in the Cultural Peace Program and tries to revitalize and look at how can we, with the experience that we had from the Cultural Peace Program, how can we use it in the present day situation? How do we build a cultural peace through education? And of course, education is the absolutely most important and basic part here. Then through a different type of economic development, and we have experts here on ecological economy, so we might hear more from that later. How to develop a cultural peace through democracy. Why democracies are failing today, how we need more direct democracy, how we need to bridge the gap between what people need and what the politicians are ready to bring. And then the free flow of information, freedom of speech, tolerance, and also disarmament, and then particularly different points on how to build peace, through peace ministry, to peace tax, that we, some of the tax that we pay go for peace activities instead of going for war activities, like we in Norway at least have a possibility of not paying tax to the church if we are human ethics. inclined, how we need to have social service instead of military service. Imagine if we could have huge groups of young people who were trained in caring for the old, for the young, for the migrants, etc. It would be a huge asset for our societies. So there are lots of suggestions, and hopefully it can be useful for study groups or seminars or so forth. But I wanted to share with you some of the myths that we were banging our heads against in this work. And one of them has, and a very important one was mentioned already by Liz: if you want peace, prepare for war. And this underlines all our thinking that we have to be prepared. The suspicion is rampant. They might come, and if they don't come tomorrow, they might come after tomorrow. So this whole attitude of mistrust and suspicion, which truly doesn't lead us anywhere. And sometimes also, as we have seen, it might work as a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we, of course, as peace workers, have to insist on the opposite. We have to state clear and loud that if we want peace, we have to prepare for peace. We should not only have ministries of defense or so-called security, but ministries of peace or ministries of cultural peace. Not only prestigious military academies, but obligatory peace education and conflict resolution programs at all levels of the school system and beyond. Not only peace research that studies the development of new weapons, armed conflicts, and national security issues, but peace research that truly helps us understand and solve conflicts creatively and in non-violent ways, in accordance with the UN Charter that we have to make peace by peaceful means. Another myth was that nothing can change because violence is inevitable and intrinsic to human nature. UNESCO brought together a huge group of scientists to look at this issue, and they came up with what we call the Sevilla Statement on Violence. It underlines, and I quote, "It is scientifically incorrect to say that war or any other violent behavior is genetically programmed into our human nature." I would like to add to this that if we manage to cater for the aspirations and needs and hopes of young people, maybe they will be less inclined to use violence. And I'm particularly concerned these days, as we have almost only military experts explaining in the mainstream media that it is the military way of behavior that is the right. We need weapons to have peace. It scares me. The third myth was that we have to confront is that war and violence is seen as efficient methods for solving problems and disputes. Both experience and research show that this is not true. If weapons would bring peace, we would have had world peace way back. And there is particularly one study that I would like to draw your attention to. It is the researcher Erika Chenoweth, who wrote in her book Why Civil Resistance Works that non-violent actions are more than twice as successful in reaching their goals as actions allowing the use of force and weapons. Isn't that fantastic? And research also showed that for peace negotiations to be sustainable, they must take as a point of departure the real and fundamental problems at hand involving the local affected people. And when women participate in peace negotiation, the agreements last much longer than if it is only the warring parties at the table.
Ingeborg, red card.
Red card. Shall I stop?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Can I read a poem?
Pardon?
You
can read a poem. The poem is okay.
But the long list of long-term and short-term alternatives are many. We have to learn them, we have to study them, we have to support each other and be strong in this work, otherwise we won't manage. I'm ending as I started on art, and this poem is by the Persian poet Hafiz. It reads, I sometimes forget that I was created for joy. My mind is too busy. My heart is too heavy for me to remember that I have been called to dance, the sacred dance of life. I was created to smile, to love, to be lifted up and to lift up others. O sacred one, untangle my feet from all that ensnares. Free my soul that we might dance and that our dancing might be contagious.